Hello and welcome to Responsible Public Debate. I'd like to thank the Ethical Society for hosting. The Ethical Society is an ethics-centered, humanist, religious community committed to creating a world in which all people should choose to live ethically. If you'd like to learn more, just find somebody with a nifty name tag, and I guess that would be me. I'd like to thank our camera operator, David, for shooting at the last minute. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Ben Schultz. I gave birth to this forum. No pun intended. I did so out of a lot of frustration with a culture that can't seem to talk about important issues in a respectful and educational manner. I think debate is something that we should not just forget about after high school and college, but something that we need to cultivate in our culture for all ages. On all the issues where lots of people fail to agree. I think it's great to get more than one view on the table at times so we can see clearly the strengths and weaknesses of each in light of each other, especially. Perhaps maybe we can discover more about why we believe what we believe and what kinds of arguments we can reasonably expect to convince other people who are coming from completely different perspectives than we are on the same issues. And that's a challenging lifelong skill to improve upon. And even if you haven't changed your opinion one little bit by the time you walk out of here, hopefully we've at least humanized our opponents a little and learned something from the encounter, in one way or another. And so it's important, I think, to not be insulated from other points of view. And much like roommates who cannot afford to simply ignore each other, conservative, liberal, and other voices need to learn how to get along with each other in this country under the same laws somehow. So how do we do that? No pressure. Please take a moment to silence your cell phones or any electronic beeping devices so that our debaters can speak without interruption. Our debate format will be as follows. Each speaker will have a 10-minute opening. And
Kate asked if she could go first.
That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine. Yep.
Kate will be going first, and then after the two 10-minute openings, there will be 4 rounds of 5-minute, or 4 instances of 5-minute responses to each, and 2-minute closings after that from each speaker. That's a little complicated, but I'll be guiding us along that. All right, and then after the first hour of debate, we'll have a 10-minute break where you can stretch your legs, go to the bathroom. Men's room is in the hallway over here. Women's is over there. And then after that, we'll come back, and that will be the next hour will be the question and answer segment from you guys, the audience. So if you have any questions, hold on to them. And I'll explain how that goes when we get there. To introduce our debaters, on the pro-life side, we have Brian Westbrook, co-director from the 40 Days for Life St. Louis group. And on the pro-choice side, we have Kate Lovelady, leader of the Ethical Society. And since Kate will begin, you have 10 minutes.
Thanks. I'm glad that you're all here. Thank you for being here. First, I wanted to start as the host and as the leader of the Ethical Society. I wanted to start by saying that I assume that you're all here because you're passionate about this issue, and frankly, I would be very surprised if anyone's mind were changed tonight. But at least we can learn a little bit about each other's thoughts and feelings and values and fears, maybe. And so I ask that we all be good advocates for our respective causes by treating us all with respect and politeness, and from refraining from cheering or booing or otherwise turning this into a sporting event instead of what it is, a discussion of a very important issue. Can you all hear me? Can you hear me back? And I also want to say that I'm not a specialist in this area. I've never debated it before. I'm probably not the best advocate, but I was willing. So I will do as best as I can to represent the Ethical Society's position. The American Ethical Union, our national body, has taken a stance that is pro-choice, essentially. I'm just going to hold it right here. So, well, first I apologize to Ben because the question tonight, is abortion good for America, actually doesn't make sense to me as a question. The real question to me is, are American citizens better off if abortion care is legal or if it is criminalized? Now, women have always everywhere struggled with the reality that we get pregnant more often than the number of children that we want or that we have the ability to care for. And in America, abortion care was criminalized in the mid-1800s and remained that way until the 1970s. And we know, or if you don't know, I suggest you educate yourself about what happened during that first and what I hope will be the only period of criminalization. Women still had abortions, and about at the same rate as they do now, but they were self-induced miscarriages and they were illegal through legal practitioners, particularly if they were poor women or women of color. And women were seriously injured, sometimes to the point of not being able to have children again, which most of them wanted to do, and sometimes to the point of death. And since abortion care has become legal across America, although it's still practically difficult for many women to get an abortion care facility, to get to one, or to pay for their care, the rate of injury and death to women has dropped dramatically. So clearly, having legal, safe abortion is good for women. But if abortion care is not only caring for women, but as I assume will be argued tonight, a form of murder of another being, then what's good for women may not be so good for America. Now, as an ethicist and a humanist, I look to many sources to make ethical decisions. So on the question of whether abortion is murder, religious tradition is not really that helpful, actually. Over the centuries, religions have condoned acts that we would clearly consider immoral today, such as infanticide. And currently, there's a huge variety of opinion between religions and even among members of the same religion as to whether and when ending a pregnancy is a moral issue. Emotion is another source of ethical knowledge, but it's also not that helpful in this case. Some people have a very strong intuition that ending a pregnancy is murder, but many others don't. And many women who believe that they believe abortion is always wrong, nonetheless have abortions themselves, because when they have an unplanned pregnancy or a severely damaged fetus or some other personal crisis, they find that their feelings change. So can science help? Well, if the question is, when did life begin? Not really, because there are lots of different meanings of life. Plants are alive, but we're not morally obligated to them. Animals are clearly alive, but most everyone in this room happily pays to have animals killed so you can enjoy eating them, I would imagine. As a vegan, that offends me, but that's not the debate. It's generally agreed on in the social sciences that we have special moral obligations toward other people because they're conscious. People who have permanently lost consciousness we call brain dead, and most of us don't want our bodies or our loved ones kept alive by machines if we become brain dead. Consciousness requires a certain amount of brain development, which occurs usually after around 25 weeks. And the sensation of pain requires similar brain development so that fetuses can't feel pain until about 24 weeks. And this roughly corresponds with the Supreme Court's decision in Roe v. Wade that after a fetus develops to that extent, it makes sense to limit abortions to extraordinary cases, such as concern for the woman's health or if the fetus is severely damaged. And in fact, over 98% of abortions occur way before 21 weeks. And I agree with the position of Roe v. Wade, and for two reasons. One is that consciousness as a meaningful line separating potential life from life that should be given reasonable protection makes sense to me. It makes more sense to me than earlier options, which I'll talk about later. And the second reason is that although I don't know for a fact that fetuses are full human beings in any meaningful way, I do know that women are full human beings in every meaningful way, deserving of the rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And criminalizing abortion care would deny women all these essential rights. It would deny their right to life by forcing them to undergo the dangers of pregnancy and birth, or the dangers of illegal abortion. It would deny their right to liberty by making a part of their body and their genetic material the property of the government and subject to regulations that we would consider unthinkable in other circumstances. For instance, we don't force people to donate kidneys and livers to other people, or even to donate blood, even though children and adults die every day due to a lack of donors, because in America, our bodies are not the property of the government. And criminalizing abortion would deny women the right to the pursuit of happiness by valuing a potential life over her life, including possibly her plans for education and meaningful work, her plans to eventually have a family with two parents instead of becoming a single mother,
Her plans to be able to be a good mother to the children she already has. Over 60% of women getting abortions already have at least one child. And her plans to be safe from an abusive or a dangerous partner. Unwanted pregnancies are catalysts for increased violence in abusive relationships. And I just found this out, which shocked me. The #1 death of pregnant women is murder by her partner. And being pregnant makes it practically much harder for a woman to leave an abusive relationship. And in Missouri, I just learned it's actually illegal to divorce while you're pregnant. So for all these reasons, this is why I believe that it is better for America that abortion be legal rather than criminalized.